Since the dawn of time, man has known two truths. Weird censorship in Just Dance, and weird everything else in Just Dance. But to know the meaning of these truths is to ascend. When a mommy Jello and a daddy Turkish veneer dentist love each other very much. Oh, you didn't want the truth on that? You wanted the truth on censorship in Just Dance? Well, why didn't you f***ing say so? Of all the people in the world, why didn't you ask me sooner? As a motherfucking expert in swearing, you couldn't have picked a better person to discuss this. I mean, kids can say bitch now, Just Dance. It's fine. Don't get your panties in a twist. Censored lyrics aren't anything new. I mean, if you grew up listening to the radio or, God forbid, Kids Bop, radio edit versions of songs have either censored or replaced lyrics. But in terms of Just Dance, I feel like where people get a little confused is the lyrics they've chosen to censor. Words censored in some songs fly completely free in others. Same with innuendos and slang. This has caused a lot of uncertainty with players. Why does Just Dance censor so inconsistently? Why has Just Dance never spoken on it? And why are his teeth do that? Over 15 years later, and I'm ready to get down to the truth. But before we do that, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Psych, this video is not sponsored. It's a message for Ubisoft. Put Sneaker Night in the game. Did you think I had forgotten? Just because I took a little nap on this song doesn't mean I fully fell asleep on it, okay? Put the song in the game. And no, you don't want to see me when I put my sneakers on, because basically what I'm gonna do is kick your ass. Now that that's over, I'm gonna give a quick summary on what Just Dance is for anyone who was not alive before 2016. Just Dance is a party rhythm game that first released in 2009 and, despite everyone's begs and pleas, has continued to release yearly. Yes, this is the Cozy Gamers NBA 2K. Although it's no surprise why Ubisoft decided to make it an annual franchise, Just Dance wasn't initially a full game concept. It started as a minigame in Rayman Raving Rabbids in 2007, and it was so successful that Yves Guillemot said, "Get me 38 Just Dances on my desk by Monday stat." Just Dance absolutely exploded alongside the craze of the Wii and became so popular in its early years that in 2011, one man made it onto the US news for going to Best Buy to purchase Just Dance 3. And that man was the President of the United States, Barack Obama.
So anything having to do with Just Dance? Now, is this the hot one right here?
Oh yeah, that's the one that just came out.
Just came out. In case you guys are wondering, Just Dance for the Wii. Apparently, the girls beat me every time on these various dance games. So, yeah. And you guys will never get a picture of me doing it.
I don't think people understand how big of a craze Just Dance was. Just Dance had a fashion show with Kendall Jenner. Justin Bieber came in to surprise fans playing the game. They seemingly entered into holy matrimony with Katy Perry by being featured in several of her music videos. Their commercials featured Flo Rida and huge YouTubers at the time, like, They had artists like Jason Derulo and BB Rexa announce their games at E3. Just Dance was a cultural phenomenon, and the premise of the game was so simple. You hold your Wiimote in the same hand that the coach has their glove on, and you follow their moves the best you can. You have pictograms in the bottom right to give you a small heads up on what move is coming next. Your scoring is shown at the top with a bar on the left showing who's in the lead. And of course, if you want to sing along, you have lyrics in the bottom left. And this is where the discussion of censorship in Just Dance was born. And after almost 17 long years of being a Just Dance fan, I finally sat my ass down, did some f***ing research, and got some answers. We will get into the analysis, but before we do, I'd like to share some funny examples of censorship in Just Dance. And for help, I enlisted my favorite people, you. Here are some of my favorite examples. Glass of wine being censored in Blow Your Mind. The word kill in Kill Bill, but somehow keeping the word kill in the song title. Booty in Bang Bang. Censoring beer in Chaise Long, but not the Big D. Okay. Middle finger in Rock and Roll. Muffin in Walk This Way. I also have a few examples of them censoring the word hell in some songs, but not in others. And everyone's absolute favorite, cherry chapstick and I Kissed a Girl. And you know what? What the hell? Just for fun, I'm gonna throw in my favorite example, not of something that did get censored, But if something that didn't get censored, who let the singer of Sail say, maybe I should kill myself? This is exactly why I wanted to make a video essay on this topic, because it's not just controversial, but it's so fascinating. So let's go into a deep dive on why the censorship is so inconsistent and how censorship has changed over Just Dance's 16-year run. I actually wanted to interview someone at Just Dance about this topic, but they don't respond to my emails. So it's probably because of that one time I made fun of them for announcing Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus on September 11th. I think I deserve to get ignored, so that's understandable. But I have compiled a ton of research on this topic, so I'm ready to regurgitate all of that at you now. And don't forget to take notes, because there will be a quiz on this. Censorship in Just Dance lyrics haven't changed a ton over the years, but there have been a couple of noticeable differences. I unfortunately wasn't able to find any published articles by ESRB, Peggy, anybody else about how censorship has changed in video games over the years, so I kind of have to go off of my own hypothesis. So when it comes to the changes in censorship, none of this is like fact or part of my research that I'm going to get into later. It's just kind of based off of my own history with the game. I also want to give a huge thank you to the Censorship Wiki, because they have a list of every single song from every single game in Just Dance that has ever been censored. Whoever made that, I love you. Thank you. Just Dance used to be a lot tighter on censorship in the early days, but sort of eased up as the years went on. In the beginning, every single instance of a swear was either censored or a line was replaced. For instance, in Heart of Glass, there's a line that reads, "to be a pain in the ass," but they just replaced it with another line where she says, "had a heart of glass." But as the years went on, Hell started to make it through the cracks from time to time, and in 2017, they had a song with the words "goddamn" for the first time, which may sound funny to you, but really says a lot considering there's a song in Just Dance 2 where they censored the word "bull crap." And something that has stayed surprisingly consistent through the years of Just Dance censorship is not really their censorship of swear words, but their censorship of context. If they think something may allude to an inappropriate word or an inappropriate action, they will just swear it out. So for example, in American Boy by Estelle and Kanye West, there's a line that reads, "don't like his baggy jeans, but I'm gonna like what's underneath." Obviously referring to his personality. But they censored out everything from baggy onwards, which I thought was really funny. Why take a risk when you can censor out the whole line, I guess? They also censored the line "bad backseat of my car," which I guess I get. We know what they're alluding to in the song called Bang Bang. I think this is where people get confused when it's not something that is literally translated into a swear word that gets censored, but it's like the context around it or something suggestive. But I think it makes sense. I mean, if you can read between the lines, then you probably have to censor between the lines. I will say something that I have enjoyed about Just Dance censorship is sometimes they do get a little creative with it. Most recently in Thrift Shop from Just Dance 2026, they censored a word with a chicken bok, which I think you can figure that one out. During the Just Dance Astral season in 2022, instead of fully censoring each DLC song, the songs were actually replaced with clean versions to avoid those awkward pauses in the music. I actually really appreciated this because even though it can be a bit kid bop-ish to read "put a smile on your mouth" in Montero, I do appreciate that like half the song isn't just silent. Also, Just Dance, put Montero on Just Dance Plus, please. This isn't a request, this is a demand. But my favorite censor is in the song As It Was. They censored the word pills by having a plane fly overhead, which actually tied into the lore of that game because the plane was flown by a coach from another map, which was Toxic by Britney Spears. I think that was by far the most interesting and creative way to keep the song clean. It's really easy to just cut a word out of the lyrics of a song, but to make it actually like cohesive with the game, I think is really interesting. The only thing I wasn't able to figure out in my research was a kind of theory that I had about how censorship works in Just Dance, which is that Just Dance has an allotment of swears that they're allowed to use. And once they've used them up, they have to censor the rest. This is how it works for movie ratings, so it would make sense that it's reflected in video games. And the only reason I came to this theory is because of my own map. Sorry to be conceited for a second. Just Dance 2024 does have other maps with the word hell uncensored, but Can't Tame Her, my map, has every single occurrence of hell censored. The reason this theory came about is because Can't Tame Her was the very last map to be filmed for that game, which means it was one of the last songs to be cleared by copyright holders. So my guess is that since other songs cleared first, they used their allotted swear words on those songs, and once they started getting to the end of the song list, they ran out and had to censor everything onwards. I am really bummed I couldn't get an answer on this because I do think it's a solid theory. I think it's possible that they're given 2 hells and 1 goddamn, and then everything after that is censored. I just couldn't find any data on it. But I did learn a lot about how censorship works through the ESRB, so let's get into that. Now that we've talked about how censorship has changed in Just Dance over the years, I want to go into how these ratings are chosen by the ESRB. I want to say also that usually in Europe and I think Australasia, they use the PEGI rating system. However, I only studied up on the ESRB, so sorry to all PEGI users. I only did research for America. So my apologies. Let's get into the research. The Entertainment Software Rating Board, better known as the ESRB, was founded in 1994 to help consumers understand the content inside of the game they were interested in purchasing. Turns out 2 really cool things were founded in 1994. Me. Of course, if you hadn't played a game yet, you wouldn't know what the contents are, so having these content labels and ratings made it easy for parents to buy the appropriate games for their kids. A direct quote from the site reads, "Our rating system was established with the help of child development and academic experts, based on an analysis of other rating systems and what kind of information is valuable to parents. After consulting experts and parents, the ESRB found that they needed to create a rating system that both encompassed age groups, much like toys, and also had short but descriptive warnings about the content in the game. And even though the ratings are technically voluntary, all console manufacturers like PlayStation and Xbox and most retailers like GameStop and Best Buy require ESRB ratings in order for games to be put on store shelves. The ESRB was initially created with 5 age-based categories, but for the sake of this video, we're only going to focus on E and E10. Eat in these nuts. These ratings were created to inform consumers about content such as violence, blood and gore, etc. However, over the last few decades, it's evolved to include more modern gaming practices like if the player's location is shared, in-game microtransactions, and how players interact online. And in the case of Just Dance, you'll get an extra warning called online music not rated, because ultimately the ESRB is rating video games, not the copyrighted music inside of it. So how are ratings decided? The ESRB website reads, "Ratings for physical boxed video games are based on the consensus of at least 3 specially trained raters who collectively assess a game's content and deliberate about what rating should be assigned to a game. Some raters are also required to playtest games post-release to ensure that a complete and accurate content disclosure was provided to ESRB when it was originally submitted for rating," end quote. These individuals chosen to rate are always kept confidential and are not allowed to have any ties to the game being reviewed or any ties to the gaming industry at all to avoid a conflict of interest. When DLC is released, like a new season or song pack drop for Just Dance, depending on the content, the ESRB rating for that DLC can be different from the main game. For example, Total War Shogun 2, a turn-based historical strategy game released in 2011 under a T for teen rating. However, they later released a DLC that introduced blood and dismemberment to the game, pushing that DLC rating to an M for mature. While the people in charge of rating a game don't play the entirety of the content, they do continue monitoring the game after launch in case the content doesn't match the rating that was given pre-release. If a game doesn't follow the rating given by the ESRB before release, they're subject to monetary fines. And because of how difficult it is to modify a physical game's rating after the game has shipped, fines can be as expensive as $1 million. These fines would be against the publisher. Sometimes video games have a separate developer and publisher, but in the case of Just Dance, it's both developed and published under Ubisoft, so these fines would hit Ubisoft specifically. And we all know that they can't afford it. I'm sorry. And the ESRB doesn't mess around when it comes to these ratings. They have mystery shoppers that go into stores to make sure they're following compliance. Let's dig a little more into how the ratings are conducted. There are 2 different rating routines based on if the game is physical or digital. Even though the box for Just Dance just includes a digital code, it is still classified as a physical game, so we'll go over that process. A game sold in retailers is reviewed long before its release, where the publisher has to share 2 important forms of content disclosure. First, a completed questionnaire detailing any relevant content, context towards that content, reward systems, and player control. The context is key here, so this is why, say for example, in the song New Rules by Dua Lipa, the line, "if you're under him," is censored. Even though there's technically no swear words or inappropriate words in it, it's the context of what that sentence means. The second form of disclosure is a video showing gameplay, missions, and cutscenes, including any content the player could potentially be locked out of. In the framing of Just Dance, this would be like when they used to have secret maps that you would need a code to unlock. Even though those weren't front-facing in the game and you needed a code to unlock them, they would still be included in the rating process. This video and form are reviewed by at least 3 raters, the same ones we talked about earlier, who recommend a rating category, content descriptors, and interactive elements. They also share a rating summary which explains why the game received that rating,
and it's up to a publisher to either accept the rating or modify their content to fit the rating that they want. Side note, once a rating is accepted, it's automatically published on the ESRB's website, and that's how sometimes songs end up getting leaked because they are listed on the ESRB website's content disclosure. Usually it will be a song that hasn't been announced yet, but the lyrics are listed in the rating. I technically don't think it's a leak because it's like a legal process that's being followed, but whatever. Any songs with lyrics that may be considered inappropriate will be listed in this summary that is published before the launch of the game, even if that song hasn't been announced yet. So why is it posted so early? It's for one simple reason: consumer awareness. This industry relies so much on pre-orders for new games, but unfortunately you don't always get the product you pre-ordered. The ESRB preparing these summaries months in advance of a game's launch is pertinent to a consumer's knowledge on what they're purchasing, or in the case of Just Dance, what parents are purchasing for their kids. My mom could not care less if I watched any media or played any games with like swear words in them, but just because she didn't care doesn't mean other parents wouldn't care. And that's why the ESRB is so important. You make the decisions based on what you're comfortable with. After the game has published, the ESRB continue to monitor games to make sure they've abided by the content they promised during the review period. And you know what happens if they catch no content? Daddy gets a fine. This was such a long process of research, and most of it is basically plagiarized from the ESRB's website, so I'll be linking all my sources in the description for anyone who wants to check this out for themselves. Especially if you're a parent, I super recommend looking at games ratings on the ESRB website. It's very helpful information. So after all this research and all this time taken, the question I asked at the beginning of the video is completely null. Everything I thought I knew about Just Dance censorship was wrong. The strange choices, the lyrics that made it in and the ones that didn't. That one time that Ubisoft uploaded Slumber Party by Britney Spears to Just Dance Unlimited, but they accidentally left it uncensored. None of it was Just Dance's fault. It was the ESRB's. Well, except for that last one. That last one was kind of funny. Yes, technically it's Just Dance and Ubisoft that are making the decision to censor these lyrics, but they kind of have to. If they don't abide by the ESRB and PEGI, then they can't sell their game, both on storefronts and digitally. I mean, damn, if you're a longtime fan of Just Dance, or you've at least heard of it, you've probably seen it on some sticky shelf at GameStop. I used to work at GameStop. I never figured out why those shelves are so sticky. This also explains why, even though inside Just Dance boxes it's just a digital code for the game, they still sell their games on storefronts in a box. Games need eyes on them. And the other reason why they want to abide by ESRB and PEGI is a pretty simple one. They want to market their game to kids. They want Just Dance to appeal to as big of a market as possible, and that includes kids. Just Dance has always been marketed as a game for everyone. Families, people who want to work out, woke blue-haired pronoun havers. But there's no way Just Dance would have the success that it does without kids. According to a study published in 2020 by Concordia University, children and teens in the US spend almost $200 billion annually. As dystopian as it is to say it, kids have a strong spending dollar. And if there's any company that needs that dollar bad, it's Ubisoft. Spare some change. So the next time you wonder why Just Dance censored something really goofy, just remember, it's all children's fault. I learned so much from doing research on this video, and I had such a blast doing like a huge deep dive on it, so I really hope you enjoyed watching it. It took a few months for me to compile all the research, so thank you so much for waiting. I know I've been talking about making this video for a long time. I also really wanted to interview someone on Just Dance about censorship, but it just didn't end up working out. This was a super fun topic to go down a rabbit hole on, because I swear every time I go live playing Just Dance on Twitch, someone will ask me why a certain lyric was censored in the song that I just danced to, and I didn't have an answer, and now I do have an answer. As I mentioned before, I got a lot of my information from the ESRB, and I've listed every single link of where I got my sources down in the description if you want to do your own research. Honestly, after working at GameStop for several years, if you're a parent, please do your research. Oh my God, it's so important. Know what your kids are playing. Fun fact, when I worked at GameStop, we legally had to read out the content disclosures to someone buying a game that was rated M. So whenever like a kid came in with their parent and was like, oh yeah, it's a child-friendly game, I would have to stand there and be like, hey, before you buy this, did you know that it's rated M for blood and gore and drugs and sex and violence? And every time the parent would be like, What the hell? Kids are so sneaky, man. They'll try to get away with it if they can. So read up on what your kids are playing. It's important. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and let me know in the comments what other topic you want me to do a video essay on, because I love doing these. It's so fun. I feel like I learned so much from just reading everything on the website because I didn't understand the censorship either. So it's just very fascinating. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye! Wasabi, over here. What are your thoughts on censorship? I'm gonna have to bleep that out.